And so it's just a matter of, do you want to start something that can be a nice vocation where you make maybe a couple million a year? Do you want to start something with your friends that's a fun web project that then you flip for 5-10 million? Or do you want to build the next Google? And I think entrepreneurs need to know which race they're running in. And I think the Y Combinator race is the middle one.
Okay. Any more questions? I can actually see
Hi, sir. My name's Edward Asienu. I'm from a premature baby startup called Prevalent. I just had a question. Is there any situation where you think an entrepreneur could, should be paranoid to the extent that they're not sharing the concept with a lot of people, or at least anyone who would listen in order to get started properly?
Well, I mean, as I said before, I don't think there's really any original ideas when it comes to the web. I think it's so much about execution that, I think it's a matter of style. I mean, the thing that's great about entrepreneurs is they're all totally different, and I think you have to play to your own strengths. So, I mean, you mentioned Mahalo earlier. I mean, Jason Calacanis is obnoxiously self-promotional, but at some level it works.
You say he's the... Paul Walsh is the American...
Yeah, he's the American Paul Walsh.
Yeah. There's a whole, dual... Paul Carr is the British me. Robert Locke is the British Michael Arrington. There's a whole sort of
I think you're
cast.
the American me. I think we've discussed this.
We'll leave that to another strip
time.
club debate. But I think that, it's what your personal style is. I mean, are you one of those people who wants to sort of keep your playbook to yourself and work really hard, and that's your strength, is that you work really well alone and you're going to do such a good job and follow your metrics so well that you don't need to be out talking about it? I mean, that's kind of someone like Max Levchin. Or is it a situation like Dig where, I mean, Kevin's value as the face of that company is a huge chunk of the value of that company. I mean, when Jason was trying to pay people $1,000 a month to switch from Dig to Netscape and do the exact same thing, hardly anyone would do it. And when you interview these guys, they said, I can't do that to Kevin. I mean, they felt like Kevin was their friend. That was a huge amount of the value. So I think it depends on the company and it depends on your style as an entrepreneur. I don't think, if you have a great idea and a great take on it and you're willing to work really hard and make it happen, you telling someone the idea, they can steal the idea, but they can't steal that. That makes sense.
I just remember this event called Secrets from Silicon Valley. Can you tell us a couple of secrets? You chose the title of the event.
I don't think I did, actually.
We assumed it'd be secrets. That's why we're all here.
Well, you had not read the book, so you didn't know the Facebook board.
Everything in the book is a secret from Rob.
I did read the book. I was asking questions because others haven't.
Is there something particular you want to know?
If we knew, it wouldn't be a secret. You're the secret
I feel
holder.
very on the spot. I didn't know I was supposed to come with a secret.
Again, if you actually looked at the title of the event, there's a
I
secret.
just go where I'm told.
And it's not just one secret, it's a number of secrets. It's plural secrets. Well, except one secret.
Someone else ask a question and I'll think of a secret.
Okay.
We have one at the back here.
Hey Sarah, I'm Malcolm Scoville. Just a quick question about the big media groups and the Yahoos and Googles of the world. Are they still going to be buying social networks over the next 5 years?
Not immediately. I think definitely for the next 6 months we'll see a big freeze. I think when they do start buying again, it'll kind of be back to the things Yahoo was buying in terms of the Flickr Delicious size. I don't think they'll be buying big ad networks anymore. I think that's going to be one of the first things that does freeze. I think that they'll be buying teams of people that are doing something interesting for a pretty small amount of money, or it's very accretive to the bottom line. And so if you don't have one of those two things, it's not a land grab anymore.
So we have a question from Michelle Dewberry, the second person to win The Apprentice on BBC.
I feel like I was reported.
Yeah, hi, Sarah, my question's not actually on behalf of me, it's on behalf of Paul, because he's suddenly got...
A coward.
Yeah. Paul's question is, how come so many companies can afford to lay people off right now? Is it because are people hiring too many people to begin with? And to quote Paul, are they hiring too much fat? What's your thought?
No, I think they haven't, particularly in the web. I mean, these companies have all been run incredibly lean. I mean, everyone went through this brutal experience in the last downturn where they, bulked up, and everyone has kind of been looking over their shoulder this whole run up of Web 2.0. So I think the companies where there's fat in Silicon Valley are Google, eBay, Yahoo. They're still the big first generation web companies that just kept staffing up and buying things and didn't have a lot of direction. Those companies need to cut thousands and thousands of workers.
Aren't you one of Yahoo's workers?
Yeah, and I realize I might be writing my own severance in saying that. But they need to cut thousands of workers. I think with the startups, they're just responding to what their investors are telling them. And their investors are all saying, you need to tighten their belts, and they want to be able to say, look, I did something. And so they're laying off a couple people here and there. And they're probably people they were going to fire anyway. I mean, startups are revolving doors. People come in, it's a pressure cooker, they leave. Most of the companies, I think every single company in the book actually raised a huge amount of money at a fantastic valuation about a year ago, or early this year, sort of end of last year. And so they actually have several years of runway. They saw this coming. So most of those guys aren't. I mean, Slide is still hiring. I mean, Facebook has had some turnover, but I think it's more about turnover than anything else. It's definitely a tough environment. I think what's so terrifying, and the people who are laying people off, the reason they're doing it is because it's this fear of the unknown. I mean, because the Valley wasn't the one that started this economic crisis, and we're not really directly tied to it because, tech also is sort of famously unleveraged. But it's the structural underpinnings of the U.S. economy. And so there's such a fear of, it's like the way an investor put it to me the other day, it's like, we're sitting on the beach and it's still really sunny and awesome, but we know there's been an earthquake in the ocean, and at some point the tsunami's coming. But it still feels really sunny and awesome, so what do you do? And it's like that uncertainty is what's freaking people out and why they're laying people off.
Any more questions?
So these secrets.
Say your own name and what you do.
Hi, I'm Zoe Margolis of Golden One Track Mind. I'm interested, were you surprised at the amount of criticism you received after you interviewed Zuckerberg at South by Southwest? And do you think that, sorry, I'm trying to hold this, but do you think any of it was justified, or do you think that some of it, or most of it, was due to industry misogyny?
I think I'll take this one.
Clearly, Paul and Rob chickened out of that question.
Well, I would never be one to tell someone that their point of view isn't justified. I mean, I wouldn't say that I agree with a lot of it. I mean, in terms of surprise, I mean, yeah, Mark and I were both
You notice we've done a really good
stunned.
job. This is how you're meant to do it.
Yeah. We get
I've been slightly more talkative as well. No, it's, Mark and I actually, I mean, this is sort of the sad truth of that keynote, is that Mark and I felt it was going extraordinarily well. We
That's
felt
because you were watching
great
Twitter.
about it. We honestly felt like we were, but also it's like, there were, I mean, the thing to understand is, so there were 500 or so really negative Twitters about it. 60% from 3 people, and there were 8,000 people there. So really, any way you slice it, it was a vocal minority. The people in the front, I don't know how many rows, were kind of the people who like camped out to get really good seats. There were a lot of business reporters. They were Valley people. All of those people were like warm and laughing and engaging, and that's all we could see from the lights. So Mark and I actually both thought it was going great. And so then when like the heckling started, there's actually this moment, I don't know if you can even tell on camera, but there's this moment where Mark is like convinced that people are heckling him because it's so unfathomable to him that like we both were so confused. We spent about an hour right after it just looking at each other and being like, what just happened? So, clearly we didn't think it was justified because we were utterly confused by it. I mean, I think it was a tricky thing. I think South by Southwest was trying to become something else with that keynote, and I think they're really good at what they do, and they shouldn't try to be a business conference. But there were a lot of constituents to sort of please, and we were told not to take questions. I mean, there were a lot of logistical things like that too that people got. So I think it was just kind of, there are things that I legitimately see why someone might have been upset. I think at the end of the day, the worst thing that I did was do a boring keynote, and that does not warrant what I received, period. There's no reason my husband should be in San Francisco reading blog posts about the 8 guys who just gang raped me in an alley. That's never okay for someone just doing a subpar keynote.
Do you regret posting that now, Rob?
I'm not sure you're one to talk about this.
Yeah,
My thoughts on the matter are well known.
I've burned 8 bridges.